Hello, gorgeous ladies of Get It Together, girl. Happy Friday. It's Free Coaching Friday, and we had a wonderful question from the beautiful Karen Carroll. So let me go ahead and invite some friends to pop on, and we'll see if we can find Karen. If you're jumping on, say hello. If you're catching the replay, drop a hashtag replay in the comments. Let me know that you have stopped by. There she is. Okay. So Karen asked a great question. And Karen, I think you're over in the Crafty Monkeys group. Hey, Stephanie. I'm going to be doing a live there tomorrow talking sort of all about this. But it's a great question. Karen asked, how do I find the time to do everything I need to do while working a 45-hour work week? And that's a great question. I know time management is huge for all of us, right? If you have not already checked out the unit section of this group, the time takeover, it's a little 3-day mini course in there. It may have some tips and tricks that help you, but here is what I have to say about getting it all done despite a 45-hour work week, having your own business, like all the things. Number one, you got to prioritize. You got to prioritize, and you have to be very, hey, Penny, you have to be very intentional with your time. So pay attention to things like how often you're scrolling Facebook. Pay attention to things like how often you are, basically blocking your time. And really be intentional. I know Facebook scrolling is a big one. That is like the biggest time suck for me. I'm like, I'm just going to go on and like go through my notifications and like take care of business stuff, reply back to people and whatnot. And next thing you know, it's been an hour and I'm like, I got sucked into some group posts and I was commenting on this, that, and the third. And one thing led me to a YouTube video, which took me down another rabbit hole. And like, that's what happened to me this morning. I didn't sleep well. I was up by like 7:15. I was like, all right, by like 8:30, I'm going to be at my workstation working. And next thing you know, it was 9 o'clock. And I was like, now I was responding to messages and I was on Facebook, but I was also like in the Cricut Craft Life group giving advice, which is not part of my income producing activities. So tip number one is be very intentional with how you're spending your time. Check out your screen report on your phone to see how much time you're scrolling Facebook or Instagram. Tip number two is how can you maximize your time? So, for example, I have been meaning to watch a video on how to do an offset in Inkscape. And I had the video saved and I just hadn't found the time to do it. But I had a customer waiting on me. Like they wanted their project. And I'm like, shoot, I have not had a chance to watch this video again. And if you're over in the other group, you may have seen my sister wants me to do t-shirts for my nephew's baseball team. I remade the logo. She approved it. I printed the t-shirt. She told me it was wrong. Okay. I went back to the drawing board. I redesigned the logo again. Before I printed it, I sent her the screenshot. How does this look? Yes, it looks good. I cut it. I put it on the shirt. I didn't press it yet, but I put it on the shirt. I sent her a picture. I said, before I press it, how does this look? She goes, the numbers are touching. Can you make that bigger and this smaller? And why does this and why does that? Hey, Lori. Hey, Jen. Hey, Pat. And I was like, okay. So then she messages me this morning, like, how's it going? And I'm like, I have to redesign it again. The problem is I use Design Space. I use the Fonto app. I use this. I use that. I use Inkscape. I use, I have done everything I know how to do here. And I can't get it right for you because you're asking me to recreate a logo that someone else made. Exactly. And that's not what design people do. And I don't have a graphics background. So I'm trying for you here. But you know what? I get by with a little help from my friends, Karen. I reached out into one of the groups and I was like, hey, y'all, I'm crashing and burning here. This is what I need. This is what I have tried and I cannot make it work. And one of my friends came through for me. They made the image, they sent it to me, and now I can make it work. So reach out for help. Tip number 3, how can you delegate? I think tip number 2 really was maximize your time. So while you're cooking dinner, put on that video you've been wanting to listen to. While you're in the car, while you're out to lunch, pop an earbud in, play your phone while you're eating your lunch, and listen to your video. Do your personal development that way. Maybe it's a book on tape you've been wanting, or a book you've been wanting to read. Find the audio version on YouTube for free, pop an earbud in, while you're driving to work or while you're on your lunch break during your work, you're typically 9 to 5 work week, and you can get it in that way. I used to listen to podcasts to and from work on my 30-minute commute when I was working my 9 to 5. That's how I was sure every day, Monday through Friday, I got my personal development in. And some days it was like Dave Ramsey's talk show, and other days it was Manifestation Babe, and some days it was all about TED Talks. And podcasts are amazing. There's even craft ones, so you can really control the content and make sure that you're getting what fills your cup up. But you got to find the time somewhere. So, popular ones: get up 5 minutes earlier, get up a half hour earlier. That doesn't really light me up. I like my sleep. Go to bed later. Well, I like to go to bed with my husband. So we try not to, unless one of us is sick or something, we try to, when it's time for bed, we go to bed. So you have to find what works for you in your life, but find ways to maximize your time. Tip number 2. So whether it's in the shower, put on a podcast while you're in the shower. I always have a podcast playing, or a Facebook Live that I have saved, a tutorial video. Okay, so I can't watch along, but I can listen. And you have enough knowledge where you can pretty much figure it out. And if there's something you need to go back to, or you need to pause it quick, you can quick pop out of the shower, dry your finger off and do that. But I almost always have something playing. Sometimes it's a guided meditation. Sometimes I'm like, man, I'm not feeling super inspired. So I'll put on one of the coaches that I love, or I have a ton of friends who have podcasts. I'll pop on one of their podcasts. Sometimes I just let it go random and play anything, like Spirit, bring me a message. Like I said, TED Talks, there's crime junkie stuff, there's health things, there's inspiration, there's motivation, there's food, there's everything in podcasts. And if you're like me, you have a whole list of things saved on Facebook to go back to at some point. So make use of that. Tip number 3 is delegate. Are your kids old enough to do the dishes or do your own laundry? Start grooming them. And I speak from experience here. I'm not just being like the mean old mommy. I grew up, my mom did everything for me. Bless Mama, I love you. But she did, because that was her standard, and that was the way that she escaped her reality, was making sure that things were clean. Things in her life were outside of her control, so that's what she could control. The fact that the drawers were pushed all the way in and there were no clothes hanging out the top of them. The fact that the floors were dust and dog hair free all the time, even though we always had dogs and cats. And I commend her. She did a tremendous job. But I can remember her being on her hands and knees washing the kitchen floor. And now as an adult, I realized that was her escape from her life that she was unhappy with. And that's how she chose to redirect her attention so she wasn't crying in a corner somewhere or stabbing my father. Real talk. So she did those things as her own vice, as her own coping mechanisms. And it was great growing up. Mama did my laundry. I only started doing my own laundry when I had my own kid. My mom was like, listen, homie, figure it out for yourself, okay? Here's the draft, come pay attention. But she did my laundry. She put it away. She cleaned my room. She took my garbage out. She cooked dinner. She cleaned it up. She vacuumed. I had zero responsibility, zero chores growing up, okay? And it was amazing, except when my parents got divorced when I was 19. My mom sold the house that me and my sisters grew up in, and I had to move out. And I rented a house with now my husband, who was my boyfriend. And we rented a house with he and I and my daughter. My sister rented the downstairs. It was a ranch-style home with a finished basement. My sister went downstairs. My other sister was married with kids, so she was out on her own anyway. And I was like, wait a minute. I have to buy garbage bags to put in the garbage to throw the trash out? This is a sham. This is a sham. I didn't know how to cook dinner. Not to mention that I grew up on rice-a-roni and a can of green beans and chicken cutlets or something. There was a few things that my mom made, but she's an eat to live kind of person. She wasn't super culinary, and she ate because she had 3 kids and a husband to feed, or she cooked rather. So I didn't have any of those skills. My best friend Dina taught me how to cook, bless her heart, because I had no skills at all in the kitchen. I didn't really know how to clean because I never had to. Never cleaned a bathroom in my life till I moved out on my own. And I realized in that moment that mom was really doing me a disservice in the way, because I was not prepared. I was not prepared to live as an adult on my own, even though I was an adult and I had my own kid and we were in fact living on our own. It was a really hard learning curve for me. So all that to say, get the kids involved. No matter how young or old they are. My daughter's been doing her own laundry since she's 10 years old, maybe even younger. She cleans her own room. She does her own laundry. She puts it away. You know, she doesn't have responsibilities like cleaning the bathroom and things, but she's responsible to do dishes. She lives on her own in New York City, so she learned a lot that way too, but she was always had her own responsibilities. And I never ever cleaned up after her. I always worked a full-time job until very recently. I didn't have time to be cleaning up after kids either. So tip number 3 is ask for help when you need it. A lot of times we as women, we wear that badge of honor, busy, right? Like, look at me. See me? I'm busy. Super busy. As a matter of fact, I saw a friend on my news feed and I wanted to engage, but I wasn't sure that she would be in the mindset or be open to hear it based on the tone of what she shared. But it basically was something along the lines of, you know, all you people who praise self-care, you know, you don't get it. I don't have the time. You know, you don't. And all I could think to that was, first of all, your kid is 10. All right. You don't have a toddler attached to your body. You don't have a baby crying at you. You have a 10-year-old that's walking around and going to school. And surely when that kid goes to bed, you have some time to yourself. That kid can sit next to you at the kitchen table and do his homework the same as you can sit and read or listen to music or do whatever, work out, do whatever it is that fills your cup. It's a cop-out. And if we're going to wear busy like a badge of honor, I'm just so busy. I'm just so busy. Well, guess what? You're always going to be busy. And if you don't take the time to do the things that make you happy, you're never going to be happy. And life is never going to change. You're not just going to wake up one day and like the people in your life are going to stay in line and behave. The kids are going to do what they're supposed to do without being asked. No one's going to piss you off. The boss is going to act right. Your coworkers aren't going to be, you know, shoddy and do a terrible job and leave someone else to clean it up. Like these things just don't happen. We make them happen. Okay, we set boundaries. We ask for help when we need to. We're intentional with our time, and we realize that if we're going to mindlessly scroll Facebook, then that's going to count as self-care today. And you don't get to be like, I didn't have any time. Because you did. You just chose to spend it some other way. And sometimes that choice doesn't feel like a choice because we're not making it intentionally. We're just on autopilot. And we're going through the motions of life. And that's why intentionality, like that was the switch for me. Like I was like, if every day I don't have some up level, if I don't have some, it doesn't have to be a brilliant thought. It doesn't have to be this amazing realization. Like, oh my God, call Oprah, y'all. I got it. Just something to let me know that I was present in my life today. I made the most of today. I used to wish my weeks away. I can't wait for Friday. I can't wait for Christmas. I can't wait for break. I can't wait for summer. All you're doing is wishing your life away. And when we wish our life away, there's nothing to look forward to. You know, I've said this before, but this is the future of yesterday. Does it feel like the future? No, it just feels like today. So we spend all this time planning for the future, and in the future, it's going to be better. It never feels like the future. And better never comes unless we make it. And we make it every day by being intentional, by being present, by setting boundaries and sticking to them, by asking for help when we need, and by taking radical responsibility for our behavior, our time, our thoughts, our actions. Indecision is a decision. It took me a long time to learn that. A long time. It did. So that's why when I see this, when I hear this, like, how do I get it all done when I work 45 hours a week? How do I get it all done when I have kiddos and toddlers and people to take care of? And, you know, life is always happening to us, right? But life is always happening for us as well. And so the mindset is super important here. It's always important. Because if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you can't. But the bottom line, Karen, is if I don't quit today, I won't quit. And so if every single day you can take one tiny step toward making your life better, your business better, by getting something done, checking something off the list, you're doing it. You're succeeding. So let's see. I got some comments. Stephanie says, so true. When I'm having my quiet reading time, I have Elijah draw and color next to me. Okay, and Stephanie's kid is like 2, right? So it's nonsense to say, I don't have time for self-care. No one's saying sit in the bubble bath for an hour and a half with the Lush bath bombs and drink champagne. Okay, that may be someone's life, but it's not everyday life. What it really looks like is me with a cup of tea in my journal. What it really looks like is me sitting down and watching a movie. Not while I'm scrolling, just sitting down with my husband. We did this last night. We went to bed at like 7 o'clock and we watched a movie. And there were a couple of times where I picked up my phone and I was like, it doesn't matter what's going on. I'm going to be present in this moment. And it felt like quality time. You know, it's your decision to make. But if we're going to wear busy, and I'm not saying this is what you're doing by any means, Karen, but I see it a lot. And I saw it on a friend's social media post yesterday. And it kind of triggered me a little bit. I felt awful for her. And I wanted to be like, wake up and see that it doesn't have to be that way. But because you think that it's that way, you think that self-care is this elusive thing that you can never have, maybe just frame your perspective around self-care. Self-care doesn't have to be a day at the spa. It can be a cup of your favorite tea, a splash of your favorite creamer, 5 minutes to read. This is something I want to read this book. You can't find 5 minutes. You can't lock yourself in the bathroom for 5 minutes. In the car on your lunch break for 5 minutes. 24 hours in a day, you can't find 5 minutes. When I do that to myself, I'm like, wow, you're ridiculous. Check me. That's how I check myself. I can't work out for 20 minutes 3 times a week. If 20 minutes seems crazy, what about 10? What about taking 90 seconds to stretch in the morning? It's a commitment. It's discipline. It's integrity. That's why mindset is so important. That's why I shout and praise mindset from the rooftops. Because it all starts with what you think and how you feel. And if you don't feel like it, and if you don't think you can make any progress, then it's easy to say, why bother? But if you have a clear goal in mind, you have a big why, and you're, strong enough in your sense of self to say, this I can handle, this I need help with. This I can do. This compromises my integrity and I won't do. And when we can really set those boundaries and establish that and really be intentional and be aware when we're wearing busy as a badge of honor, then we can move mountains in 5 minutes. We can start to collapse time and realize it doesn't take a ton of time when you're in alignment. And getting there is a feeling. It's how you feel about it. It's the vibration. So if none of those tips and tricks resonate with you, try to flip your mindset. Try to flip your thinking around and define, how can I take care of myself within the bounds of what I have? Maybe at work, you go walk around the parking lot. I used to work in an office and there would be a lady who would lap the parking lot. That would be her workout. She would do it every day. And she would just go, I don't know if she had a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or if she tracked her steps or what her purpose was, but you would see her walking, I'd sit in my car. She would be walking, just literally the rectangle of the parking lot. Where there's a will, there's a way. We can do it. I had a coworker that used to go to the gym and swimming on his lunch break. He would come back, his hair be all wet. We'd be like, what the hell? He's like, yeah, I went to the gym. And at first we were like, weird. No, it's not weird. Good for him. He's putting himself first. He's not getting suckered into this keeping up with the Joneses, gotta go out to lunch with the attorneys to be seen. He's like, no, I'm going to do me. I know the gym. I'll pump my iron. I'm going to go swim. I'm going to go feel good. So I hope that helps. Karen and anybody else who's watching, thank y'all for jumping on. I appreciate it. I love doing these free coaching Fridays. And let's see, I think I had one other question. Stephanie says, I didn't post this question on your post, but was wondering if you know anything about geotagging in IG. Instagram is not my jam. I'll be super honest. I teach it just enough to help you get your account on brand, and I'm happy to teach everything I do know, but I really don't know much about geotagging. Is that No, I really don't. But you know what? I'll do some research for you because we are coming up on the social media code in this round of Sisters in Success. And I, of course, want to pour everything into those ladies that's humanly possible. So if that's something I can learn about between now and then, I'm happy to do it. And I will report back. How's that? Let's see. Make sure I have nothing else. Yeah, I love doing, hey, Kirsten. Hey, Amy. I love doing these free coaching Fridays. They allow me to get to know you ladies better. And sometimes there's like a theme based on what I've got going on in my life or a program, but really no holds barred. So whether it's a question about me and my business or how I do things, or if there's an idea that you're working on, like really don't be shy, ladies. Feel free to post on the free Coaching Friday thread. And hey, if you don't want to put it out there for everyone to see, you can always drop it in my inbox. You had an anonymous free Coaching Friday question. That's totally fine. I want this to be a safe space. I would rather you share than sit and suffer in silence. So I hope that helps. I love you guys, all the world, and a pound of plums. And I will talk to you soon.